Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. For this one, you've really brought us some incredible material to dig into. This whole concept of the essence of Merli, divine teachings for a blissful world.
It's rich, definitely rich.
Yeah, and we've got that core piece from March 11th, 2025. But then it's so interesting to see how some of these same ideas were already being discussed in something from, get this, 1968.
That's a testament to the timelessness of these teachings.
Absolutely. And I think our real mission in this deep dive is, well, it's more than just skimming the surface, right? We really want to extract the core stuff, those truly meaningful insights about how to achieve a blissful world, how these teachings, propose we get there. And it seems to revolve around this journey, this shift from what they call a world of sorrow to a world of peace and happiness.
That's the central thread, that transformation.
Yeah. And as I was going through all of this, a question kind of popped into my head, and I'm curious to get your take on it. What do you think, just from what you've seen, what do you think is the biggest hurdle, the biggest obstacle to making that kind of change? Because it's not the small thing we're talking about here, right? It's huge.
You're absolutely right. That is a very insightful place to start because this idea of transition, of moving from a state of suffering to a state of joy is really fundamental to these teachings. And, the 2025 source doesn't sugarcoat things. It's very direct about where it sees us now.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
It calls the present world a world of sin, or Pitki Dunya, and a land of sorrow ductum. That's quite a stark assessment, wouldn't you say?
It is. There's no doubt about it. But what really stood out to me was that it's not saying oh, some people are sorrowful and others aren't. It's insisting this sorrow is everywhere. It even says that even those with wealth, they're not immune.
It's a pervasive condition.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's this almost, overwhelming image of mountains of sorrow about to descend. I mean, that really creates a sense of urgency, like, whoa, things need to change. And it makes that whole goal of the land of peace, Shanhimim, and the land of happiness, Sukhdam, even more, even more desirable, right? Like, that's where we need to be headed.
Right. And it's fascinating how very early on, the teachings introduce a guiding force in this whole transition, this shift. It talks about the Father, or BAP.
Okay, so guide us through that, because there's so much there.
Well, the 2025 text explains that the Father arrives specifically to guide, to lead the children, which we understand to mean all of us souls, towards this state of bliss.
So we're all kind of seen as the children in this scenario.
Right. And what's significant here is that it emphasizes the cyclical nature of this. It uses the term kelp, which indicates that this isn't just a one-time thing. This is something that recurs, that happens again and again, with the Father offering Shramat divine guidance each time.
So it's almost like a recurring opportunity for humanity to kind of get back on track.
Yes, exactly. A chance that comes around again and again. And this guidance isn't about, just feeling a bit better each day. It's about grasping a much larger picture, a cosmic understanding. The teachings say the Father imparts knowledge of the beginning, the middle, and the end of this entire creation.
Wow. Talk about a comprehensive education.
Right. It's a complete understanding that's being offered here. And then there's this core idea of the Father being the Father of all souls. The 1968 piece actually touches on this in a really beautiful way, talking about how souls and the Supreme Soul remain separated for a long time.
It's almost like this beautiful reunion story that's unfolding.
Exactly. It's a coming back together. And to circle back to your initial question about the biggest obstacle, the 2025 text is very clear about what it sees as that primary challenge.
I'm all ears. Lay it on me.
It describes our current state as a battlefield, that's the word used, and states that Maya's first and most potent attack in this arena is on our Nishche.
Nishche. Okay, break that down for me. What does that mean, and what's its significance?
Nishche is such a key term here, and it means certainty, like unwavering faith, conviction.
So if Maya is like this force of illusion, this negativity, then it's saying that the main battle isn't against something external, at least not at first. It's really an internal struggle, a battle against doubt, against losing our faith in the path and in the guidance of the Father.
Precisely. It's about the strength of our inner conviction. And the teachings explain how Maya works to weaken that certainty little by little, leading to defeat in this spiritual battlefield.
I can see how that would work. It's like those tiny little doubts that creep in and start to chip away at your resolve.
Exactly. But the text emphasizes the vital importance of holding on to that firm belief. If you maintain that unshakable conviction that the Father, the one who removes sorrow and gives happiness, is providing genuine guidance, revealing the true understanding of this cosmic cycle, then Maya can't really touch you.
It's like having an anchor in the middle of a storm, something to hold you steady.
That's a great analogy because if you're always questioning the very foundation of this guidance, you're going to be vulnerable to those doubts, those negative influences. It's like trying to follow a map when you're not even sure if the map is leading you in the right direction. And I think it's so interesting how the text contrasts this battlefield with the kind of physical battles we usually think of.
Yeah, like wars and stuff, right?
Exactly. It talks about those relying on bahubal, which means physical strength, whereas this inner struggle, the spiritual battle, is all about yogbal, the power of yoga.
Okay, and Yagbal, I think that requires some explanation because most people think of yoga as like stretching and poses.
Mhm.
So what exactly does it mean in this context?
Right. Well, what's so important to understand is the specific understanding of yogbal within these teachings. The 2025 source emphasizes that this particular yoga, this connection with the divine, is something you learn directly from the Father.
That's something you pick up at the gym, huh?
Definitely not. And it's only learned once. This distinction is made from all those various forms of hatha yoga that people practice. The postures, the breathing. This is a direct connection with what the text calls the purifier, Patit Pavan, which is another name for the Father.
So this purifier concept really stands out, especially when we consider the whole idea of this journey and the transformation that's being talked about. The teachings describe souls as originally residing in the land of peace and then descending into this world to play their roles. And right now, it says humanity is in a state of tamopradhan, the most impure.
Yes, and that's contrasted with the original state of deities who were satopradhan, the most pure. So it's a picture of like a gradual decline in purity over time.
A kind of devolution almost.
In a sense, yes. And they use this really powerful analogy of gold. It says we started as 24-karat gold, the purest form, but through this cycle we've become like 9-karat jewelry, mixed with other metals, diluted, less valuable. The goal then is to go through a process of purification and return to that original 24-karat state.
So we're kind of on this quest to refine ourselves back to our original purity.
Exactly. And the text even talks about how souls have become black and tarnished due to accumulated impurities, which are called kad.
So how do we go about removing those impurities? What's the process?
The method described is Yog Agni, the fire of yoga. And of course, this isn't a literal fire, but it's the transformative power that comes from remembering the Father consistently. It's through that sustained connection and remembrance that these impurities are said to be, like, burned away.
I love that image, a spiritual refining process.
Right. It's a deep cleansing and refinement. And as part of this transformative journey, there's this fascinating metaphor of a secret government that's introduced.
Okay, that piqued my interest. Tell me more about this secret government.
Well, this government is described as being involved in planting the sapling of the divine garden, which is contrasted with the way wild saplings might just grow randomly in the world. This suggests a deliberate and guided process of growth and renewal.
I like that. Very intentional.
Yes. And the outcome of this planting, of this cultivation, is the transformation of thorns, which symbolize negativity, those impurities, into divine flowers, representing purity and virtue.
So it's a beautiful picture of personal and global transformation.
Absolutely. And this entire process is actually tied to the completion of a larger cycle, what they call the cycle of 84 births. The teachings emphasize that we're now reaching the end of this cycle. And it even directly addresses this idea of the time scale, contrasting this 84 birth cycle with the notion of millions of years, which it suggests has led to a lot of misunderstanding about the current time.
So it's saying this isn't some endless timeline. It's a specific cycle that's coming to an end. Now, on a more practical level, how do you actually live this? How do you navigate all of this while still living in the world with family, with responsibilities?
That's a great question, and the teachings do offer guidance on this. They talk about living within your family while still maintaining a constant remembrance of the Father. It mentions this idea of a secret love, or gupt love, with the Father.
What do you make of that secret love idea?
Well, I think it speaks to a very internal, personal connection, a constant awareness of the divine that exists alongside all our worldly interactions and duties. The key instruction is, remember me alone, Man Manapav.
So it's not about abandoning your family or anything like that?
No, not at all. It's about Having this inner focus, this constant stream of remembrance, even while you're going about your daily life.
It's almost like a background awareness, a spiritual anchor that keeps you grounded in the midst of everything else.
Yes, exactly. And to help with that, the teachings also advise listeners to become free from attachment, nashtamoha. It's about detaching from the fleeting aspects of the material world, the ups and downs, and focusing on that enduring connection with the Father.
So we're talking about letting go of those things that are temporary and holding on to what's truly lasting.
Right. And there's also a very practical element of self-reflection that's encouraged. They mention keeping a daily balance sheet or padama of your spiritual progress.
Like a spiritual check-in.
Exactly. Taking stock of how well you're maintaining that remembrance, where your attachments might still be, how well you're shedding negative qualities. It's a daily spiritual inventory, you could say.
That's a really helpful way to frame it. Now, I want to talk about the value of this knowledge itself. The teachings describe these knowledge jewels, Jayanratna, emanating from the root percent, which, if I understand correctly, is another way of referring to the Father as the embodiment of knowledge and bliss.
Yes, that's right. Root Basement beautifully captures the essence of the Father as the source of both profound wisdom and ultimate happiness. And these knowledge jewels, they're described as being absolutely priceless.
They're the real treasure.
Exactly. They're the essential truths, the deep understanding that guides us on this path. The Father is presented as the ocean of knowledge and also as the bestower of salvation, Sadgati Data, highlighting the ultimate benefit, the liberation that comes from receiving and really internalizing these teachings.
It's interesting then how the teachings contrast this with other spiritual practices that many people might be familiar with. The 1968 text mentions how people who come to, inaugurate exhibitions related to these teachings often view it as just another good path to God.
Right, like attending satsangs or reading scriptures.
Exactly. So what's the key distinction being made here? What sets this apart?
The crucial difference that the teachings emphasize is that this isn't just another path made by human beings. It's claiming to be direct knowledge and guidance from God the Father himself.
So it's not a human-created path, it's a divinely revealed one.
That's the assertion. The text points out that these well-meaning individuals often don't recognize that they're actually receiving teachings directly from the divine. It's a claim of a very direct and personal connection being reestablished.
Which brings us to this really important aspect of purity. The teachings are very insistent about how challenging it is to truly become pure, to make that transformation from patisa pavan, impure to pure.
It's a constant effort.
Yeah. And it stresses the need to remain pure and clean, not just in our actions, but also in our thoughts and intentions. There's a clear warning against getting caught up in worldly, materialistic matters.
And the concept of being bodiless, Ashiri Bhav, is introduced in this context.
Okay, explain that one.
It's about recognizing our true eternal identity as souls, separate from the physical body and all its attachments.
So detaching from the idea that we are the body.
Yes. And this detachment from bodily consciousness is seen as essential for maintaining purity and fostering a deeper connection with the Father, who is also bodiless.
It's like we're shifting our identification from the temporary to the eternal.
Precisely. And all of this is happening against the backdrop of understanding the world as a drama. The teachings explain that everyone is playing their part, and there's this cyclical nature to time and all the events that unfold.
So it's like we're all actors on a cosmic stage.
In a sense, yes. And I think that perspective can be incredibly helpful in learning to detach from the ups and downs of life.
It's like not taking it all so personally, seeing it as part of this larger play.
Exactly. It provides a framework for understanding the impermanence of the material world and the eternal nature of the soul in its journey. And the teachings conclude this section by presenting the remembrance of the Father as a powerful talisman.
Okay, love that image.
Right. It's something that carries protective power, and in this case, the power to remove sorrow.
So if we're trying to bring it all together, it seems like this deep dive has revealed a really comprehensive path for moving from a world full of sorrow and impurity towards one of peace and lasting bliss. And this journey is guided by the Father, who provides the knowledge and the practice of Yogbal, the power of remembrance. But a big obstacle is doubt. So cultivating unwavering faith is crucial.
You've really captured it well. It's ultimately a process of inner purification, shedding attachments to the material world, maintaining that constant connection with the divine, and remembering that we're all playing our parts in this world drama.
And for you, our listener, the key takeaways are understanding the current state as ductum, recognizing the role of the Father as our guide and purifier, grasping the importance of Nischay in overcoming Maya's influence, and realizing the transformative potential of Yogbal to purify the soul and lead us to Shantitam and Suktam.
Beautifully summarized.
And on that note, taking inspiration from the Avyakt Ishare, the unexpressed signals, here's something for you to ponder as we wrap up. Think about the power of truthfulness and purity in your own life, in how you interact with the world. How might embodying these qualities become your own supreme balm, so to speak, for positive change and transformation, both within you and in the world around you?
It's a powerful thought to leave with. Thank you for guiding us through this deep dive.
Until next time, everyone, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.